Mukbang was everywhere. Everyone was doing it. Every time I opened YouTube, someone was stuffing food into their mouth like they were on a timer. The louder the slurping, the more views. I figured if they could do it, I could too. I set the lights, curated a pastel aesthetic, a table full of noodles, mochi, chicken wings, sauce dripping like blood. Then, reality hit. I didn't even make it through 1/5 of the spread. My stomach clenched. I vomited midstream. No one watched. No one cared. That night, I realized something cruel and honest. Normal doesn't trend anymore. People don't follow you because you're good. They follow you because you're memorable, weird, uncomfortable, unforgettable. So I pivoted to makeup. Beauty content always had loyal eyes. I wasn't a guru, but I knew enough. Contour tricks, dewy foundation, liner wings sharp enough to kill. I started going live, trying looks, doing get ready with me, whispering affirmations with fake confidence. And then it happened. In the middle of one stream, while demonstrating a serum dropper, a drop slipped past my lips. It tasted like perfume and ammonia. I gagged, my face twisted in revulsion. The comments exploded. They called it iconic, chaotic energy, too real. I didn't expect it to go viral, but the next day, the clip had over 600,000 views. People shared it, memed it, reenacted it. She ate the glow. Me accidentally eating shampoo as a kid. For the first time in my life, I was trending. PR packages started arriving. Lipsticks, masks, foundation sticks, perfume oils. Brands asked me to unbox, to review, to smile prettier. I felt like I'd made it. But fame is like sugar on the tongue. Sweet, fast, and then gone. A week later, views tanked again. The brands moved on. The inbox went dry. I paced my tiny apartment, eyes twitching from caffeine and ring light glare. I needed to be shocking again. I needed something grotesquely beautiful. What if I combined mukbang with makeup? The first time was rough. I applied blush, posed for the camera, and bit into the compact. The powder crumbled in my teeth, dry and bitter like old chalk. My tongue went numb. My throat itched. I forced a smile. It smells good. I lied. So it must taste good, right? I edited it to perfection. Bright filters, jazz music, kawaii overlays. Then I uploaded. Next morning, 2.7 million views. People were horrified and obsessed. Some mocked me. Some called me mentally ill. But others thought I was faking it. It's just candy shaped like makeup. She's trolling. No way she actually ate that. The crunch sound is edited. They thought I was a liar, so I decided to prove them wrong. I scheduled a live stream. Real makeup mukbang, nothing fake. Watch me eat. I arranged the table like a banquet from hell. A lip gloss charcuterie. Sheet masks folded like crepes. Serum-filled wine glasses. Cotton pads soaked in toner, stacked like macarons. The viewers flooded in. 20k viewers, 50k, 90k. I raised a lipstick to my mouth, bit down. The wax snapped like bone. Bitter oil filled my mouth. I chewed slowly, staring straight into the lens. Comments flew by. She's actually doing it. WTF. Art? This is art. The more I ate, the easier it got. I found textures I liked. Glossy, velvety, crumbly. There was something deeply satisfying about it, like I was feeding a hunger I never knew existed. My body didn't like it, not at first. I got dizzy. My tongue swelled. My stomach felt like it was lined with fire. But I didn't stop, because the numbers kept rising. I was finally being seen. The brands dropped me, of course. Some sent cease and desists. Others ghosted me. But new people found me. Dark corners of the web that celebrated extremity. They dared me to go further. Drink setting spray. Eat a face mask whole. Let's see you swallow glitter. And I did. Every time. Soon, I couldn't go a day without it. Off camera, I snacked on powder compacts. I kept a pallet by my bedside like comfort food. My skin turned raw. Red patches crept up my neck. My eyes leaked. I scratched until I bled, but I covered it up. With more makeup. Always more makeup. For my magnum opus, I planned the beauty banquet. I spent days curating it, baking foundation into cookies, melting lipstick into sauces, turning mascara into syrup. I lit candles, adjusted the camera, scheduled the live stream. When I went live, 100,000 people joined within minutes. The chat screamed. Some were terrified. Some were mesmerized. I was high on validation. I bit into a sponge. It tasted like heaven. My throat tingled. My chest bloomed with warmth. I kept eating. Then, I noticed the rash. Tiny red dots swelling into blisters. My skin was bubbling. My neck looked like boiling wax. Comments flooded. Is this makeup or disease? Filter? No filter? Turn off the stream. But I couldn't stop. I was so close to hitting 1 million live views. So I smiled, teeth smeared with glitter, and swallowed another mask. Then it hit. My throat clenched, like fingers inside me twisting. I couldn't breathe. My vision spiraled. I reached for water, but my arm didn't respond. It just dangled, twitching, like a broken puppet. I collapsed, face first into the table of cosmetics. My cheek burst open on the corner of an eyeliner tube. Blood mixed with blush. The comments kept flowing. Is this performance art? OMG, she's actually dying. Call someone. But no one did. Now I live in fragments, in clips, in sound bites, in every girl who thinks a little glitter in her soup might be cute. You think I'm gone? I'm not. I'm in your algorithm, in every viral makeup prank, in every beauty challenge that goes just a little too far. So next time someone eats something for laughs, next time you watch and say, she's just faking it, remember me, because I wasn't faking. And once you let attention inside, it never stops eating.
I didn't know it would seep into me like poison. None of us did. Back then, the excitement of the role, the promise of fame, was a song I couldn't resist.
You're perfect for the Tin Man.
The director had said, eyeing me with that hungry, hollow smile.
We want real, authentic, pure art.
Real. It always starts with that word. And so, I agreed when they told me the makeup would be special. An aluminum paint, a metallic sheen that would make my face gleam like I'd stepped straight out of a fairy tale. I sat in the chair for hours. The makeup artist was meticulous, layering on the aluminum liquid with a brush that felt stiff, almost sharp against my skin. The paint was cold, seeping into my pores, stiffening as it dried. I barely recognized myself when I glanced in the mirror, a grinning, gleaming statue of a man.
Don't smile too much.
The makeup artist warned.
It might crack.
Crack. I should have paid attention to that word too. The first sign was the itch. It started as a tickle under my chin, just beneath the aluminized jawline.
Cut!
I scratched absently, my fingernails scraping against the hardened paint. Nothing. My skin wasn't mine anymore. It was smooth and unyielding, a surface more metal than flesh. By day 3 of shooting, the itch had grown into a wildfire. My face burned underneath the layers of makeup, and the feelings spread like ants crawling up my throat into my ears. My skin no longer itched, it screamed.
It's fine.
The director barked when I complained.
Art is sacrifice, remember? Look at you! You're beautiful! The Tin Man lives because of you.
Beautiful. I stopped arguing. I stopped sleeping too, because every night I would wake with my body cramped in agony. Fingers curled into claws, toes bent until I thought the bones might snap. My skin felt hot, but my reflection was still ice cold. Then the coughing started. I was in my trailer rubbing my forearm absently. Aluminum dust shimmered off my fingertips like falling ash. I coughed once, then again, harder this time, and felt something catch in my throat. When I spit into the sink, the sputum was grey. Dark veins of aluminum streaked through it. It's fine, I muttered to myself, but my voice sounded wrong, hoarse, metallic, as if something hollow were vibrating inside me. I leaned in close to the mirror and gasped. The skin around my mouth had cracked. Tiny fissures ran from the corners of my lips, flaking open to reveal raw, oozing red. I touched it, and a piece of silvered skin peeled away like dried paint. I bit back a scream. I had become what they wanted, but... I went back on set the next morning, but no one would look me in the eye.
Don't touch him.
I heard one of the extras whisper.
The stuff gets on you. It doesn't come off.
My co-star recoiled when I brushed her arm. I looked down to see aluminum dust smeared across her pristine costume. I tried to wipe it away, but my fingertips left behind streaks, and when I pulled my hand back, my nails had turned silver. The burning worsened. My skin, no, my surface, tightened until I could barely move. I felt like a statue that might shatter if I moved too quickly. Still, they made me perform. Still, they called it art. The final scene was meant to be triumphant, the Tin Man walking into the sun. I staggered onto the set, blinking against the blinding light. Each step felt heavier than the last, my joints grinding like gears.
Keep going!
The director yelled. My feet stuck to the ground. I looked down and saw aluminum pooling around my boots, spreading like mercury, as if I were melting into the earth. I tried to lift my foot, but it was no longer mine. My toes had fused together, the aluminum consuming the spaces between them. "Help!" I croaked, my voice ringing like a cracked bell. No one came. The sun grew hotter. I raised a trembling hand to shield my face and saw the skin slough off, ribbons of aluminum paint fluttering away to reveal smooth, gleaming metal. My hand caught the light and reflected it back at me, a twisted, blinding mockery of myself.
Almost there.
The director whispered, his voice filled with awe. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came. My lips had fused together, my vision blurred, darkening at the edges, and in those final moments I realized what I had become, a statue, a monument to sacrifice. I woke up in a hospital bed, the ceiling a sterile white. My lungs burned with every breath, and a mask hissed softly over my face, pumping oxygen into me.
You inhaled too much aluminum dust.
The doctor said when I opened my eyes.
You're lucky we caught it in time.
Lucky, I spent 2 weeks trapped in that bed, ribs aching with every inhale, my body slowly purging itself of the aluminum poison. They told me my skin had turned blue during the reaction. I tried to laugh at the irony, but the sound came out broken. The studio sent flowers, but no apology.
They're replacing you.
My agent told me.
It's not personal, okay? They're changing the makeup. It's safer now.
Safer. I lay back in bed staring at the ceiling, imagining the next poor fool sitting in that makeup chair, letting the aluminum seep into his skin. I wondered if he'd see me in the mirror, a shadow of the Tin Man, trapped forever in the cracks.
I never planned for that life. Waking up each morning to paint my skin the color of cartoon sunshine and pretending for hours to be someone who never really existed. But you didn't always get to choose. Not when bills keep piling up and you're past the age where anyone wants your resume. For 6 months, I worked as a Homer Simpson impersonator at Joy Hill Park. Each day, I covered every inch of my skin in cheap yellow paint that promised to last through anything: heat, sweat, time. The first few times I used it, I noticed a tingling sensation around my cheeks and neck, an itch that stayed until I got home. I figured it was just the weather or something I'd adjust to. It didn't seem serious. People seemed to like me. They waved, smiled, and took photos. Most of all, they loved when I did the Homer Hedge meme. I practiced to get the timing right, easing backward into the bushes the park had planted for that pose. The leaves scratched my arms and sometimes left powdery residue, but I didn't complain. Lately, my shift was flooded with visitors lining up to take photos. They came one after another, each of them looking so eager. I didn't quite understand why. It wasn't until my manager pulled me aside that I found out attendance had doubled. Everyone was excited about that Homer Hedge meme I'd done. So I kept standing there, smiling, slipping into that bush more times than I could count. The kids were thrilled. The adults waited patiently in long lines. Meanwhile, the itching on my neck grew worse by the day, like a swarm of tiny needles digging in under the skin. Still, I kept going. Gritty dust from the leaves stuck to my face and arms, sinking into the paint and turning my skin rough, almost scaly. That week, my boss gave me a small cash bonus. I held it in my hands and thought about how long it had been since I could afford a full bag of groceries. That night, when I got home, I started feeling that something was wrong with my body. My arms were covered in blotchy red patches, and when I scratched them, thin flakes of yellowed skin came off beneath my nails. Under the bathroom light, I told myself it was heat rash or maybe a bad reaction to detergent. I didn't want to stop working. I couldn't. Then one day, someone's video of me doing the Homer Hedge meme went viral. My boss started treating me differently. He called me his golden goose. There was a big event coming up, and if things went well, he said I might even become the face of the entire park. I told myself, if I could just push through this one last time, maybe everything could finally change. I added another layer of paint, trying to hide the cracks along my jaw and behind my ears. It burned more than usual, but I told myself it would pass. Later that morning, I looked closely in the mirror and realized the yellow wouldn't come off. I had scrubbed until my skin burned, yet the color clung on, not as a stain, but as part of me. It wasn't paint anymore. It was my skin. Even beneath peeling scabs, the color stayed. A dull, sickly shade, like old plastic left in the sun. As I shaved, Thin strips of skin slid away with the blade. The surface underneath wasn't smooth, but rough and cracked. Small raised bumps lined my cheek. I pressed one, and it burst with a thick, yellowish fluid that smelled sour and foul. I rinsed it away, but the smell lingered on my fingers, sharp and wrong, like something rotting inside me. I told myself it would be fine, just get through the event, then go see a doctor. On the day of the festival, the park was more crowded than ever. I stepped into place, waved, and the first group of kids came running. I smiled, raised my arms in Homer's pose, and leaned into the hedge. That's when something inside me pulled tight, like a string snapping in my chest. My arms trembled, my knees gave out. I remembered falling, the gasp of the crowd, the blur of faces. My cheek hit the pavement, and I felt something peel away. There was no sharp pain, just a wet warmth. I saw a piece of my face, yellow, frayed, lying on the ground beside me. A guard rushed over and reached out, but when his hand touched my arm, he recoiled. His glove was smeared with thick, amber-colored slime. I tried to speak, to explain, but my lips cracked, splitting open. More yellow seeped through. My skin started tearing in long, curling strips. Beneath it, the flesh was soft, swollen, oozing and raw, like meat gone bad. I heard screams. People backed away. I tried lifting my hand, but it barely moved. My joints were stiff, frozen in place. I didn't know what had happened in that bush. Maybe it was the paint, or the heat, or that powder that clung to the leaves. Maybe it was everything, working together, day after day, until my body couldn't resist anymore. Now I sat in a room with white walls and locked doors. They said I was sick. They wouldn't bring me a mirror, but sometimes I caught glimpses in the glass. I still saw yellow. And sometimes the screams came back to me, along with the stunned faces frozen in fear.
I had always envied those Instagram models with their big, sparkling eyes. The way their gaze seemed to captivate anyone, it was mesmerizing. So when I got the chance to try colored contact lenses, I leapt at it. It was my first time, and I'll admit, the idea of touching my eyeball made me queasy. But for beauty, I could bear it. Standing in front of the mirror, I practiced holding my eyelid open, the small lens perched delicately on my fingertip. My first attempt failed. My reflexes forced my eyelid shut. "You can do this," I whispered to my reflection. After several tries, the lens finally slipped into place. I blinked rapidly, tears streaming down my face, but when I opened my eyes, I gasped. My reflection stared back with eyes that looked impossibly larger and brighter. The dull brown of my irises was replaced with a vibrant blue, shimmering like glass. I couldn't help but smile. This was worth it. That evening, I went out with my crush. His gaze lingered on me longer than usual, and my confidence soared. He even complimented my eyes, something no one had ever done before. We laughed, drank, and talked for hours. I felt like the center of his world. By the time I stumbled home, tipsy and giddy, I was too exhausted to think about anything. I collapsed onto my bed, still wearing my makeup and my lenses. Morning came like a sledgehammer. My head pounded, my mouth was dry, and my eyes, they ached. Groggy, I stumbled into the bathroom. The harsh light made me squint, and I rubbed my eyes, only for a sharp, gritty sensation to shoot through them. The lenses! I had forgotten to take them out. Looking in the mirror, I froze. My left eye was fine, but the right one looked wrong. The lens had shifted, partially obscuring my pupil. It gave the eerie illusion that I had two pupils in one eye. Great, I muttered. I grabbed the bottle of eye drops and tilted my head back, squeezing a generous amount into my right eye. The cool liquid was a temporary relief, and I reached up, trying to pinch the lens out. But it wouldn't budge. It felt slippery under my fingers, sliding further to the side each time I tried to grab it. My eye throbbed as I poked and prodded, desperate to dislodge it. "Come on!" I hissed, tears streaming down my face. Instead of coming out, the lens seemed to retreat, slipping deeper under my eyelid. Panic set in as my vision in that eye blurred. The skin around it felt swollen, and a dull, radiating pain started to build. By noon, the entire area was red and puffy. My eye burned, and each blink felt like scraping sandpaper. Defeated, I called an eye doctor. The clinic smelled like antiseptic, and the harsh fluorescent lights made my migraine worse. The doctor's calm demeanor did little to soothe my nerves.
You've got quite a bit of swelling.
He said after examining my eye.
I'll try to remove the lens, but you might need more extensive treatment if it's embedded too deeply.
His words sent a shiver down my spine. Embedded? I sat rigid as he used a specialized tool to extract the lens from my left eye. Relief washed over me as the first lens came out, but then his frown deepened.
Well,
The doctor said after a few minutes.
I managed to retrieve one lens.
He held up the tiny translucent piece of plastic, now smeared with redness.
But the other one, it's deep. We'll need more advanced tools to get it out.
My stomach dropped. Isn't there another way? Something less invasive? He shook his head.
Leaving it in can lead to severe infection or even permanent damage. I strongly recommend we proceed.
The words permanent damage echoed in my mind, but so did the thought of medical bills. I had seen people online remove lenses themselves. If they could do it, so could I. "Thank you, doctor," I mumbled, grabbing my bag. "I'll think about it." Back home, I sat in front of my mirror, armed with a pair of tweezers and determination. My right eye was almost swollen shut, but I pried it open, wincing as fresh tears streamed down. I carefully inserted the tweezers, trying to grab the edge of the lens. Every touch sent waves of pain through my skull, but I couldn't stop. The discomfort only fueled my desperation. "Just a little more," I muttered, my voice trembling. The tweezers slipped, scraping against the sensitive surface of my eye. A sharp pain made me cry out, but I kept going. My hands were slick with sweat, my vision blurred from the constant flow of tears. Or was it blood? Finally, I felt the edge of the lens. I pulled and it slid free with a sickening squelch. Triumph was short-lived. When I looked down at my hand, my stomach churned. The lens wasn't alone. Attached to it was something round, fleshy and glistening. A bulbous lump of tissue hung limply from the tweezers. I froze, my heart hammering in my chest. My right eye was gone. In its place was a dark, gaping socket, raw and glistening with blood. It was as if my entire eye had been pulled out along with the lens. "No! No, no, no!" I dropped the eye in panic. Dropping to my knees, I searched frantically for my dislodged eye. I glanced around, searching for the eye I had dropped, but the dim light played tricks on me, casting shadows that made my stomach churn. Where was it? My fingers skimmed the cold tiles until they brushed against something round and slick. I grabbed it, holding it tightly in my palm. I had to fix it. Maybe if I put it back quickly, it wouldn't be too late.
Hi there. What beauty service would you like today?
This is my first time ever at a spa. In my whole 16 years of life. Looking like a total mess. I want to get waxed, but Just got bullied and called a half-evolved monkey. Like this. Can it all be waxed off?
Of course. I'll help you get smooth, silky skin.
I lay on the bed, wrapped in nothing but a thin towel. All my imperfections were exposed in front of a stranger, making me more nervous than ever.
Is this your first time getting waxed?
Yes, it is.
Don't be nervous, it doesn't hurt at all.
While waiting for the wax to melt, the staff applied baby powder to my arms and legs. She then started spreading the first layer of wax on my arm. It was just warm, not as hot as I had imagined. Within minutes, both my arms were covered in wax. I suddenly noticed something floating in the wax. It looked lumpy, and there was even a hair in it.
Oh, it's probably just one of my hairs. Sorry about that.
I clenched my teeth, anxiously watching as she peeled up the edge of the wax strip, and then yanked it off in one swift motion. I looked down at my arm. A large patch of hair was gone, leaving my skin red, but there was still a thin layer of fine hair.
Don't worry, since it's your first time waxing, your pores haven't fully opened yet. I'll do one more round to get rid of all the fine hairs. It won't hurt this time.
Another layer of wax was spread over my already swollen arm. I could only trust her and stay still on the massage bed. For the next hour, I just gritted my teeth, held back my tears, and listened to the sharp rip-rip sounds as she pulled off each wax strip. Finally, after all the pain, I had the smooth, silky skin I had wished for. I paid for the service and headed home. The sweet spa staff even gifted me a bag of wax so I could do it myself at home. Once I got home, I followed her advice. I avoided water, applied a layer of snake fat balm to soothe my skin, and went to bed. The next morning, a new school week began. I finally had the confidence to wear the strappy top I had bought long ago, but had left forgotten in the corner of my closet. I walked into school with a completely new look. Everyone looked at me differently, and the bullies must have been shocked. I reassured myself that my skin was just irritated, because I hadn't used sunscreen. I applied another layer of snake fat balm and went back to sleep. That night, I couldn't sleep peacefully. My whole body felt unbearably hot, and a tingling itch crawled over my arms and legs, forcing me awake. Those disgusting hairs. They were trying to grow back. I had to get rid of them. I grabbed a pair of tweezers and started plucking them out one by one. The hair was unnaturally long, curling into a tangled clump as I pulled it out, leaving my pores oozing with blood. I gasped in horror. Then suddenly, I remembered the bag of wax strips the spa employee had given me. I melted the wax, and what I saw inside the pot made my stomach churn. Floating in the wax were chunks of dead skin and strands of hair in all sorts of colors, clearly from different people. A chill ran down my spine, and goosebumps covered my arms. The spa. They actually reused old wax for customers. Did that mean the wax I used yesterday was this disgusting recycled mess? Could it carry diseases? And then, as if responding to my horror, the hairs on my body started to wriggle. One by one, they pushed themselves out of my pores. No, I couldn't go back to being a hairy, disgusting monkey. I scratched at my arms and legs frantically, but strangely, I felt no pain. It was as if my skin had lost all sensation. My body burned with fever, and exhaustion took over. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, my arms and legs wrapped in bandages. I looked like a mummy.
No way. How could she have leprosy?
I turned my head and saw the doctor holding something. It looked like a dried wax strip.
This old wax contained bacteria from a leprosy patient. She's been infected.
No, that's impossible. That spa is big, it's reputable. My limbs feel numb because you gave me anesthesia, right?
Kate, don't be scared. Leprosy is treatable now. You just need to be patient.
Restrain her. We will come up with the best treatment plan for you. Please cooperate.
No, I'm not sick. Get the hell away from me.
I pushed the glass door open, greeted by the faint smell of acetone and cheap air freshener. The nail salon was cramped, with walls adorned by faded posters of hands flaunting impeccable nails. The flickering fluorescent light above made the already dim space feel even more unsettling. But I didn't care about ambience. I just needed to distract myself, to feel like I was taking care of myself for once after weeks of spiraling since losing my job. The woman who greeted me had a weary smile. Her hands, however, stole my attention. Covered in warts and blemishes, they were grotesque. My stomach turned, but I told myself to stay calm. "Don't judge her," I muttered under my breath. "She's probably had a tough life, just like you." I sat in the cracked leather chair and placed my hands on the counter. She began filing my nails with clinical precision, her touch robotic. I avoided staring at her hands too long, keeping my gaze fixed on the grimy counter instead. After finishing my nails, she looked at my feet.
"Your toenails are too long,"
she said, her voice monotone but firm.
"We need to trim them."
I hesitated. My hands were one thing, but my feet? I wasn't sure if I trusted her enough for that. But before I could say no, she was already adjusting the chair and motioning for me to lift my leg. The first few trims were fine, but when she reached the corner of my big toe, pain shot through my foot like lightning. I yelped, jerking my leg back. She didn't flinch.
"Hold still,"
she said, grabbing a small bottle of disinfectant. She dabbed it onto the wound, and I winced as it stung.
"It's just a small cut, nothing serious,"
she reassured me, though her face betrayed no real concern. I glanced down at my toe. There was a tiny hollow at the edge of my nail, as if the clipper had gouged too deep. "Are you sure this is okay?" I asked nervously. Without answering, she reached into her drawer and pulled out a syringe.
"This will help with the pain,"
she said. I froze. "A shot? Is that really necessary?" She nodded curtly.
"Only a local anesthetic. You won't feel anything after this."
Before I could argue, the needle was in. The relief was immediate, the sharp throbbing in my toe dulled to nothingness, and for a moment, I relaxed. That night, the itch began. It was subtle at first, just a faint tickle at the edge of my big toe. I dismissed it as part of the healing process. But as the hours dragged on, the itch deepened. I scratched absent-mindedly until my skin felt raw, but the itch wouldn't stop. The next morning, I woke to find my foot swollen, the skin around the cut reddish and tight. The itching had spread, crawling up my foot like an invisible infestation. Panicking, I returned to the salon. The woman wasn't there.
"She's sick,"
another worker explained.
"She won't be back for a while."
I felt a pang of unease but said nothing. That night, the itch turned into something worse. My foot began to ache, the skin growing hot and lumpy. Small, pale patches appeared around the wound, like moss clinging to a tree. I couldn't take it anymore. My foot was unrecognizable, bloated, discolored, and covered in strange fungal growths. Desperation drove me back to the salon. This time, another nail technician attended to me, her face a mask of indifference. She examined my foot and immediately retrieved a needle.
"This will drain it,"
she said flatly. I watched in horror as she pierced the swollen patches. Thick, yellowish fluid oozed out, carrying with it fragments of the fungal growth. But instead of relief, the fungus seemed to react violently. It spread faster, the pale patches climbing up my leg, merging into grotesque clusters. The sensation was unbearable. My skin burned and tightened as if something alive was writhing beneath it. I clutched the sides of the chair, tears streaming down my face. "What's happening to me?" I screamed. She didn't answer. Her expression remained blank as she worked, stabbing at the growths with mechanical precision. I didn't know if she noticed that the infection had reached my hands. The skin on my arms bubbled and cracked, the fungus spreading in relentless waves. My vision blurred, my head spinning from the pain. The last thing I heard was a voice, not from inside my head, but distant and cold.
"Don't let this get out, or we won't be able to do business anymore."
I sat in front of the mirror, carefully putting in a colourful contact lens for my right eye. I was just a regular cosplayer on TikTok, but today I was modelling for an online game character. I only got this chance thanks to Sarah, who unfortunately got an eye sty right before the photo shoot. Sarah, you just had a small surgery. Are you okay walking alone?
Haha, I still have my right eye. My left eye just needs to be covered for a day. I'll be fine. I'm heading out. Molly, today is a big chance for you. Do your best.
I turned back to continue my makeup when suddenly a loud bang shook the table, knocking everything to the floor. Sarah had fallen, her bag spilling all over the floor, mixing with my makeup items. Sighing, I bent down to help her pick them up. After a while, I finally sent Sarah off and focused on getting ready. Sitting back at my vanity, I put in the left contact lens. Only then did I realise I had grabbed Sarah's lens case by mistake. Luckily, the colour wasn't too different. I took out the lens from the solution and quickly put it on. I stood in front of the camera, confidently striking poses. The flash kept flickering, the shutter clicked rapidly. This was the spotlight I had always dreamed of. After a while, my left eye started itching. I frowned, trying to endure it, but my expression wasn't right, and the photographer had to pause the shoot. A staff member quickly walked over, handing me eye drops and a wet wipe. I used the drops, and the burning sensation eased a bit. I signaled to the photographer that we could continue. Standing in front of the camera again, I forced a smile. My eyes stung, but I held back the discomfort to finish the shoot. That night, I came home exhausted and collapsed onto my bed, too tired to remove my makeup. I yawned, my eyelids heavy. In my restless sleep, my eye started itching. Half asleep, I rubbed it without thinking. A sharp pain shot through my eye socket. It felt like something slipped past my eyeball, sinking deeper into my eye socket, but my eyelids were too heavy to open. The next morning, I woke up with my eyes swollen and bloodshot. The corners were crusted with discharge, so itchy that I kept rubbing them. I lifted my eyelid. Underneath was a huge sty. Looking at myself in the mirror, I bit my lip, worried. I couldn't let this ruin my shoot. Only my left eye was infected. It had to be Sarah's lens. I had a makeup shoot today. I couldn't show up like this. I tried icing it and the burning eased a little. But after 15 minutes, the swelling was still there. I figured the infection had turned into an abscess under my eyelid. Out of options, I pressed on the sty, forcing the pus out. A thick white discharge mixed with blood splattered onto the mirror. The pain was unbearable, but at least the swelling had gone down. Gritting my teeth, I put in my lens as usual and headed to the studio. Standing in front of the camera, the intense lights burned into my eyes. Every blink felt like torture. Both of my eyes stung and tears streamed down uncontrollably. In the end, the shoot had to be stopped. I bowed my head and apologized to the team. As soon as I got home, I rushed to my room to remove my makeup. Standing in front of the mirror, I wiped away the smudged foundation with a cotton pad. Both of my eyes were now swollen, bloodshot. I pulled my right eyelid down and saw tiny white bumps stacked together. Carefully, I used tweezers to remove the lens. Then I pulled my left eyelid, but instead of small bumps, a huge swollen lump bulged in the center. Taking a deep breath, I gritted my teeth and tried to take the lens out, but as I pulled, the edge of the lens scraped against the lump. I could almost feel it bursting like an overinflated balloon. Pus and blood splattered, flooding my eye socket. I screamed in pain, frantically wiping with a cotton pad. The pus soaked through, sticky against my fingers. Trembling, I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes, puffy, red, and glistening with fluid. With shaking hands, I pulled my left eyelid again. There, buried in the swollen lump, was the corner of my lens. I trembled in fear, my whole body shaking uncontrollably. Tears streamed down my face as I bolted out of the house. My vision blurred. Something pitch black blocked the corner of my left eye. Panic surged through me as I stumbled down the stairs. I missed a step. My foot slipped. Pain exploded through my body as I crashed down. A scream tore from my throat. Dizziness. Agony. I forced my eyes open and found myself in a hospital bed.
You're awake. You're very lucky. Just some minor head injuries. But your eyes, there's a serious issue. You tried to pop a sty, which led to an infection and an abscess. The CT scan also showed several foreign objects lodged deep in your eye socket. They look like contact lenses. We need to remove them immediately before they put pressure on your optic nerve.
His words left me frozen in shock. My stomach twisted. Without hesitation, I agreed to the surgery. Lying on the cold operating table, my eyes were fixed in place. The yellow surgical light blurred everything in my vision. I couldn't see clearly, but I could hear. The soft clinking of metal tools told me the procedure had begun. Even though I had mentally prepared myself, the sensation of cold metal scraping against my eyeball made me want to scream. It turned out there wasn't just one lens stuck in my eye socket. One by one, the doctor slowly pulled out dry, shriveled contact lenses. I could only lie still and endure the endless torment.
To whoever finds this letter, I have always hated myself. I was never a striking beauty. My features were plain, unremarkable. People said my face lacked sharpness, that my eyes were too small, my jaw too round. In a world where appearance dictated fate, I felt invisible. I sought answers in the whispers of fortune-tellers, and each time they confirmed my greatest fear. My face held no promise of fame, no fortune written in my features. You do not have the destiny of a star, one told me, peering into my face with quiet finality. Those words echoed in my mind for years, fueling an obsession that would eventually consume me. I wanted to change, but they told me it would take more than just a simple fix. My naive, foolish self, desperate and full of determination, believed them. I was young when I first stepped into the clinic. It was before the turn of the millennium, when cosmetic surgery was still crude, its promises far greater than its reality. I was naive, believing that a scalpel could carve perfection. The doctor assured me that beauty was just an injection away. I did not question him when he plunged the needle into my skin, filling my face with substances I could not name. At first, I felt nothing but excitement. My skin stretched tight, my chin more defined. I thought I was becoming the woman I had always dreamed of. The first few days, I admired my reflection, running my fingers over my sharper jawline, my fuller lips. I could almost believe I was beautiful, but the changes did not stop. My face began to swell, grotesquely ballooning beyond recognition. The tightness became unbearable, my skin straining as if it would split. My cheeks puffed unnaturally, my forehead bulged, and a strange numbness crept over my features. I awoke each morning to find my reflection had twisted further into something monstrous. The more I tried to hide it with makeup, the more it became clear. This was no normal reaction. Panic set in. I sought out other clinics, desperate for help. They examined me with clinical detachment before delivering the verdict. I had been injected with cooking oil. Cooking oil. The words rattled in my skull. I could not process them. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but all I could do was stare as they explained that the oil had seeped into my tissues, impossible to remove completely. The horror was unbearable. I tried to undo the damage, but every attempt at correction only made it worse. More surgeries, more injections, each one a desperate attempt to erase the nightmare staring back at me in the reflection. My skin, once stretched too tight, now sagged in strange places. The tissue swelled unevenly, my cheeks grotesquely large, my lips stiff and misshapen. My nose, once small, had thickened, losing its definition. The more I fought against the transformation, the more it consumed me. As my face distorted further, I became unrecognizable. The skin lost its shape, stretched and sagged in unnatural ways. My features no longer aligned. My cheeks swelled unevenly. My lips twisted into a permanent grimace. I remember the horror in my boyfriend's eyes when he last visited. He could not hide his disgust, no matter how much he tried to feign sympathy. After that day, he stopped coming altogether. Soon, no surgeon would touch me. They all shook their heads, their pity sharper than any knife. It's too late. Nothing can be done. But I refused to accept their words. I did not dare show my face in public. I avoided the outside world as much as possible, locking myself away in my darkened room. I could not bear the stares, the whispers, the disgust written on strangers' faces. But even in isolation, I could not accept my life in such ugliness. Those doctors, who earned fortunes sculpting beauty, had no solution for me. If they could not save me, then I would save myself. I turned to the streets, to the black market, to syringes filled with liquid nightmares. I no longer cared what was inside them. If it promised to smooth my skin, to restore my beauty, I took the risk. Alone in the dark room, I treated myself with the needle of hope. My face became a melting mask, my features distorting into something not quite human. My hands trembled as I traced my swollen cheeks, the uneven patches of flesh where the injections had hardened into lumps beneath my skin. I looked like a wax figure left too close to the fire. People recoiled when they saw me. Strangers whispered behind my back. I stopped leaving my house, stopped answering the door, stopped looking into mirrors, and stopped everything. If you are reading this letter, then I have gone somewhere far away from here. My name is Han Mi-ok. Once, I dreamed of beauty. I longed for admiration, for the kind of allure that could captivate an entire room. I wanted to be loved, to be remembered, to be immortal in the eyes of the world. But now, all that remains of me is this letter and the reflection that haunts my mirror. Hey, my lovelies. Linda here, and today, we're diving into something revolutionary. Dermaglow Extreme Peel promises a whole new you, overnight. A fresh start. Literally. And who doesn't want to wake up looking brand new? The packaging was undeniably opulent and minimalist lettering that whispered of luxury. Ooh, fancy. Let's see what the hype is about. I unfolded the instructions, my eyes scanning the fine print. Become a new person in one night? Bold claim. But the reviews, they're glowing. A flicker of unease danced across my features. The brand was unsettlingly obscure, almost non-existent, yet the before and after photos were impossibly perfect. This was sent to me by a high-end skincare brand. They claim it's dermatologist approved, though there's not much info about them online. Still, the reviews are amazing, so let's give it a go. I squeezed a dollop of the pearlescent serum onto my fingertips. The texture was cool, almost icy, a stark contrast to the growing heat in the studio lights. Feels nice. A little tingle, but nothing crazy. I applied it all over my face, meticulously following the instructions. The initial coolness morphed into a subtle warmth, then a prickling heat that made my skin tighten. Okay, feeling that kick in. This is just it working its magic. A little facial workout. very intense facial workout. A few minutes ticked by, each one an eternity. The heat intensified, morphing into a searing burn that made my skin feel like it was stretched to breaking point. I glanced at the mirror, my breath hitching. My face was a grotesque shade of crimson, tiny red bumps erupting like angry volcanoes. Whoa, that's intense. Definitely working. Wow, it's definitely potent. But beauty is pain, right? And trust me, the results are going to be so worth it. Imagine waking up with skin like porcelain, like a goddess. My eyes darted to the chat, where the comments were morphing from excited anticipation to frantic warnings. Guys, relax. It's all part of the process. You know how these extreme peels are. They're intense, but they're also incredibly effective. Just stick with me and you'll see. We're going to transform together. Think of this as a beauty ritual, a sacred transformation. I could feel something shifting beneath my skin, a subtle, unsettling movement. Isn't it amazing how quickly it works? Like, it's really getting deep, you know? It's like it's changing me from the inside out. Ha, ha, ha. Don't you just love that feeling? That transformative feeling? 15 minutes, the recommended time, the point of no return. My face throbbed, a pulsing, agonizing ache. This is more than I expected. Maybe I should rinse it off now. I rushed to the bathroom, desperate to wash it off. But as I touched my skin, a large patch peeled away. Panic seized me, my hands shaking as I frantically splashed water on my face. But it only made it worse. My skin sloughed off in sheets like wet paper. My pores dilated, oozing a thick, viscous fluid. My reflection was a horror show, a grotesque parody of my former self. I stumbled back to the studio, my vision blurring with tears. I looked at the mirror, and my blood ran cold. Something was moving under my skin, squirming, writhing. It felt like insects, like worms, desperate to escape. Release me. A voice rasped from my throat, not mine. My fingers slick with the viscous ooze, trembled as I fiddled with the camera's focus. Just a little adjustment. We wouldn't want to miss any of the magic happening, would we? The shifting beneath my skin intensified, a frantic, desperate struggle. It's like a butterfly, you know, in its chrysalis, going through its metamorphosis. A beautiful, glorious transformation. The burning intensified, a searing, white-hot pain that made me want to scream. But the smile on my face remained fixed, an unnaturally wide, grotesque grin. Almost there, I crooned, my voice a distorted parody of my usual cheerful tone. Almost perfect. My eyes widened, not in fear, but in a strange, detached fascination. I watched as my reflection began to change, the smooth porcelain skin warping and twisting, forming grotesque alien shapes. Look at what it's doing. It's rebuilding me, making me better. The final layer of skin peeled away, revealing the grotesque alien face beneath. But even as I stared at the horrifying visage, it began to smooth out, to reshape itself. The warped features softened, the alien contours melted away, and a new face emerged. A face that was even more beautiful than my own. Perfect. Finally, perfect. Now, where were we?